What kind of person destroys a neighbor's mailbox in broad daylight, then demands an apology for it? That's the question I asked myself as I stared at the wreckage of my mailbox. Its splintered wood scattered across my lawn like the aftermath of a personal vendetta. HOA Karen. That's who. She was a storm in human form. All sharp words and unyielding demands. Her presence in our quiet cul-de-sac like a thunderclap that never faded. At 40-something, with a frame that carried both weight and menace, she ruled our Homeowners Association with an iron fist, her voice cutting through neighborhood meetings like a blade. I'd only lived here 3 months. A single dad trying to make a fresh start for my daughter, Lily, and me. But HOA Karen had already decided I was the enemy. My crime. A mailbox painted sky blue. A splash of color Lily chose to brighten our new home. It didn't meet HOA standards, she said, and that was enough to unleash her wrath. I found the mailbox in pieces that Tuesday morning. The post snapped clean. Letters from Lily's pen pal in Oregon strewn across the grass. My stomach churned as I picked up the fragments, each one a small betrayal of the peace I'd hoped to find here. Neighbors whispered from their porches, but no one dared approach. HOA Karen's reputation was legend complaints about untrimmed hedges, kids' bikes left on driveways, even a dog that barked too loudly. She'd once fined Mrs. Carter for planting tulips instead of approved roses, then showed up at her door to lecture her on community aesthetics. I wasn't surprised when I saw HOA Karen's silver SUV parked across the street, her silhouette glaring from the driver's seat. She didn't even try to hide it. I could have let it go, replaced the mailbox with something bland and HOA approved. But something in me snapped as sharply as that wooden post. I'd moved here to escape the chaos of my old life, the endless fights with my ex, the sleepless nights wondering if I was failing Lily. This was our fresh start, and I wasn't about to let HOA Karen dictate our joy. So, I fought back not with shouting or fists, but with a plan. I spent hours researching, scouring websites for the toughest mailbox money could buy. I found it, a steel monstrosity, powder-coated in that same sky blue, built to withstand a hurricane or, in this case, a vengeful neighbor. It cost me half a month's grocery budget, but as I bolted it into the ground, its weight felt like defiance. Lily clapped when she saw it, her 8-year-old giggle a reminder of why I was doing this. Word spread fast. By Friday, neighbors were peeking out windows as I installed the armored mailbox, its sleek surface glinting under the sun. HOA Karen didn't waste time. That evening, her SUV screeched to a stop in front of my house. She stormed out, her floral dress billowing like a warning flag, and jabbed a finger at the mailbox. "This is a violation," she bellowed, her voice carrying enough force to make the street go silent. "You think you can mock the rules? I'll have this removed, and you'll be fined." I stood on my porch, arms crossed, feeling the weight of every eye on the block. "It's within code," I said calmly, holding up the HOA handbook I'd studied like a lawyer. "Steel. Under 5 feet. No sharp edges. Check page 17. Her face reddened, a volcano ready to erupt. But I didn't flinch. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep, replaying the standoff in my mind. Had I pushed her too far? HOA Karen wasn't the type to back down. I'd heard stories of her dragging neighbors to court over minor infractions, her lawyer a shark who thrived on technicalities. But there was something else nagging at me, a whisper of a rumor I'd overheard at the last HOA meeting. Someone mentioned HOA Karen's husband leaving her last year, how she'd thrown herself into controlling the neighborhood to fill the void. It didn't excuse her, but it made her human. And that made me pause. Maybe this wasn't just about a mailbox. Maybe it was about her need to win, to feel in control of something when her life felt like it was slipping away. The twist came on Saturday morning. Lily ran inside, her eyes wide, holding a crumpled note she'd found tucked under our doormat. It was an HOA Karen's unmistakable scrawl. All sharp angles and furious loops. You'll regret this. That eyesore comes down. Or I'll make sure you do. My heart raced. Not just from the threat, but from the realization that this was personal now. I'd assumed she was just a bully. But the note felt like a declaration of war. I called a friend, a contractor who owed me a favor, and asked him to check the mailbox's installation. Solid as a bunker, he said, but he warned me to watch my back. HOA Karen wasn't just loud, she was cunning. By Sunday, the neighborhood was buzzing. Someone had posted about the mailbox on the community board, and comments were split, half cheering my defiance, half warning I'd poked a bear. I didn't care. I was done being pushed around. But then, Monday morning brought the sound of metal screeching against metal. I ran outside to find HOA Karen's SUV rammed into my mailbox. Its front bumper crumpled like tinfoil. She was screaming, climbing out of the driver's seat, her face a mix of rage and disbelief. You did this, she shouted, pointing at the mailbox, which stood unscathed, not a dent on its surface. Neighbors gathered, phones out, recording the chaos. I felt a surge of triumph, but it was short-lived. HOA Karen wasn't just angry, she was unhinged. Her words a torrent of accusations about sabotage and lawsuits. The police arrived within minutes. A young officer named Torres trying to calm the scene. HOA Karen spun a story about me tampering with her brakes. But the evidence was clear. She'd driven straight into the mailbox. Her tire marks a confession on the pavement. Officer Torres inspected the mailbox, then turned to me, a faint grin tugging at his lips. This thing's a tank, he said. No damage. But her car's toast. HOA Karen's eyes widened, her voice rising to a shriek as she realized her plan had backfired. She'd meant to destroy my mailbox again. But instead, she'd wrecked her own SUV and any chance of claiming the high ground. I could have gloated. But as I watched her rant, something shifted. The woman who'd terrorized the neighborhood looked small, her anger a mask for something broken. I thought of Lily, how I'd do anything to protect her, and wondered what HOA Karen was fighting for. Maybe it wasn't just control. Maybe it was a way to feel seen, to matter. I didn't forgive her, but I understood her, and that was enough to keep me from escalating further. Instead, I turned to Officer Torres and said, I just want to move on. No charges. No fines. Let's call it even. He raised an eyebrow, but nodded, jotting something in his notebook. HOA Karen froze. Her tirade cut short, as if she couldn't believe I'd let her off. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. HOA Karen didn't apologize, but she didn't come near my house again either. The neighborhood felt different, like a storm had passed and left clear skies. My mailbox stood proud, its blue sheen a beacon of defiance. And Lily started calling it Fort Mailbox, her laughter filling the house as she sketched it in her notebook. But the victory wasn't just in the mailbox standing tall, it was in the shift that followed. Neighbors started talking to me, sharing their own HOA Karen stories, their voices low but relieved, as if her defeat had loosened a knot we'd all been tied in. Mrs. Carter even planted tulips again, a quiet rebellion of her own. Weeks later, I saw HOA Karen at the community center. Her usual swagger gone. She was alone, sorting through HOA paperwork. Her shoulders slumped. I almost walked past, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the memory of that note, or the way her eyes had looked when her car hit the mailbox, not just angry, but lost. I approached, holding a coffee I'd grabbed on the way. "Heard you're redoing the community garden," I said, keeping my tone light. She looked up, wary, but didn't snap. "Trying to," she muttered. "No one shows up to help." I nodded, then said, "Lily loves gardening. Maybe we could pitch in." It wasn't forgiveness. Not exactly. But it was a bridge, small and shaky, toward something better. She didn't take me up on the offer right away. But a month later, I saw her and Lily in the garden, planting marigolds side by side. HOA Karen wasn't smiling, but she wasn't shouting either. And that felt like progress. The neighborhood started to heal, not because of some grand gesture, but because we all decided to stop letting one person's anger define us. I learned something through it all. Fighting back doesn't always mean winning a war. Sometimes it means standing your ground long enough for everyone to see there's a better way. My mailbox, that armored, sky blue sentinel, wasn't just a symbol of defiance, it was a reminder that even the smallest stand can change everything. Lily still writes letters to her pen pal, and every time she drops them in Fort Mailbox, she grins like she's won a battle. Maybe we both have,